Hi everyone, it's the Academy of God's Sons, and today I wanted to share with you a message concerning God's living temples. So we know that we are God's living temples. We know the scripture is saying that we are the temple of the Spirit of God. Our body is the temple of the Spirit, and all these things. But I want to share something additional to that, and it starts with an experience that the Lord gave me, where He showed me where I saw this huge temple. It was like some sort of divine temple uh, on gold, very big. It looked almost like a castle, the size of a mountain. And that huge, massive temple had an outer wall. And then there was a second layer of wall, which was inside of it. And then there was a third layer of wall. So we had three layers of wall in that temple, which were and each layer had gates on it. And in the innermost layer was a throne, and this is where Jesus was. So that temple that I saw is actually what a son of God looks like to God, because we are God's temples. And this is how we actually appear in the spirit. And I'll tell you how. So these gates that I saw on these walls are access point, because the outside wall was the wall, the barrier that gives access to the inside of it, which was the first layer, the body. So in order to access the body, you had gates of the body, and this gate is what controlled the access point. And then from the body, you had a second layer of wall, which gave access through their own gates, through different gates, huge gates. It gives access to the soul. And then from the soul, you had the most inner wall, which through its own gates too, gave access now to the spirit. And inside the spirit is where Jesus dwells. When you invite the Lord inside of your life, this is where He is. But I saw that because this particular temple that I saw, that was me. So on this temple that I saw, the outermost wall, which gives access to the body, on its gate, this particular gate, there were minions. There was these creatures, these evil entities, you may call them demons, and they were actually controlling the access point of that wall, and I had to get rid of them, which I did. But what that was showing me was that when we say that somebody is spiritually influenced, or when demons come and try to influence you, what they're trying to influence, what they try to do is actually to control the access points of your temple, of these walls. They're attacking the temple that you are, trying to gain access to it and take control of it. Because in the spirit, this is what you look like. You look like a temple. That's why the Lord calls you His temples, His living temples. And when they get access to the temple that you are, they have an influence on you, a level of influence. The deeper they go in, the greater the influence they can exert on you. It's like taking control of a castle. You try to go to where the throne is so that you can rule on the entire kingdom. This is what they are trying to do. That's what they do. They attack you to force a way to gain access. And what happens when they, for example, control the gate? Well, the Lord, for example, we have the scripture where He says, our eyes are the windows to the soul. Why? Because the eye outside. So we have the outer wall, we have the gate of sight, so we have the gate of touch, all these gates. So the gate of sight, through this, they gain access to, now they are inside your body, and from there they have access to the gates of the soul, which is on the second layer, the layer of the soul, the walls of the soul, I mean, which gives access to the layer of the soul. So now they have access to this wall of the soul. And this is why it's important to protect the gates, the access points, because these gates gives access to entities, to beings, not just to beings or entities, but to experiences and many different things. And when these things come in, they can block your gate. They can, if it's an entity, if it's a demon, they come to take control of your gate, to destroy, to take control, try to first of all destroy, so that many of them can come inside, they can flood inside, and then they want to take access of it, control it. And when they control it, what happens? Let's take for example somebody who has a spirit of lust controlling his gate of sight on the outer wall. What will happen is that that spirit has the authority to influence that person and make that person always drawn to lustful things. So that person will find itself, will find themselves always staring at things that will provoke or entice lust in them. And it will be like automatic. They will do it unconsciously, almost like instinctually. Why? Because that gate of sight of the eyes is being controlled by an entity of lust. So there are many, so we have many gates on the soul. On the wall of the soul, we have the gates, the access points of, we have imaginations, we have emotions, we have the mind with the conscious, the unconscious, and all these things. We have the conscience, and so every layers have its gates. On the spirit has its own gates too, like worship, the gate of prayer, right? The gate of intuition and other gates. And the thing is, these gates aren't there just to be blocked, because when the spirits are there, they not only they want to take control of it, but they block it. When the gate is blocked, it doesn't function well, it doesn't function properly. For example, let's say somebody, it's not just spirit, because it's also experiences that can block this gate. It can be trauma, heartbreaks, a lot of things. Let's say somebody had a trauma and now their gates of emotions are blocked. The gate of emotion is blocked. That person will find themselves having a hard time expressing emotions. Why? Because that gate is closed, it is blocked. And they will find a hard time getting attached to people or expressing or even feeling deep emotions. Somebody whose gate of imagination is blocked, they will find themselves, for example, having a hard time visualizing things. They think that, oh, it's just normal, when it's not. We all have this capacity to visualize. And what we want is basically to take back the control of these gates. We want to restore them because some of these gates are damaged because of trauma. We want to give back the rulership of them to the Lord so that He can open them and His rivers of life can flow from the innermost being where He dwells into the spirit, into the soul, into the body, and then outside the body to create around us this atmosphere of heaven,